Namaste and welcome, beloved mighty companions. So as I sat down or sitting here, I said, Jesus, what would you speak of today? And he says, love. You can't really speak of it. You can only point to what's already here. When I was in community and they would say, all is given or accept what's given. It's like, I don't know, that felt irritating. I see why. Because the ego is really irritated by love. That's its function. Whenever we're irritated about love. We desire an experience of experience. Anytime love gets close, it's the ping. Whoa. Whoa. And I was with Helena up in Sweden. I was one of the little Holy Spirit jump a plane, take a train assignments to go to Sweden and to see Helena up at had a little house up there and had a little movie retreat. Isn't that fun? And very fun. And of course the ego doesn't like that because then you have to do devotional service, and the ego's not really typically very happy about devotional service because it's for the whole, and the ego likes that little play of, well, what about me? Until you see that your happiness depends on it. So really, it's just to use, as David would call, a backdrop to see where divine light, where the me is. And, I was sitting next to someone on the couch and we went to hug each other, and you could just feel like it was like two magnets, they got really close and they went bing. And that's it's such up a play. You start seeing that as the play. You just, you go up to cuddle up and like, and that's the symbol of how we feel about Jesus, actually. Get close, but don't really get that close. Then we do a little ping. And yesterday and today he's going to talk about it again. I hear it coming for me. That's stepping into what it means to step into our function as a divine being. And how really powerful that is when we say no to the identity and see that we're like, what we did, here's a play of consciousness. Those bull rings that they have in a bull's nose, and so the bull is really docile because it's got that ring in its nose. See, we think in the play of consciousness that having an ego and a personal identity is freedom. But what we did was we pierced our noses with a big ring, and we're being led around like this by death. I'm starting to sound like Jesus. He's pretty direct in the Course about, he used these strong terms and he used them in this book too. All these little trinkets of consciousness being held on by the bony fingers of the dead. But and then we fight, so here's the play. The play is, okay, I'm going to put a little ring in my nose to be led around by the idea I think I have of myself. And it hurts to have that ring yanking on your nose all day, but then we're going to argue with Jesus about that. He's trying to say, no, just, you don't need to have go like this and follow that idea around all day. That's not natural to you. But Jesus, I've had this ring in my nose and I've been following this. And then here's the play. I'm not ready. I'm not ready. I'm not ready to follow you full neatly. I'm not ready. So let's just find what voice is speaking that. It's helpful. Let's ask Jesus. Jesus, which voice says it's not ready? See, Jesus is found everywhere. He is with us everywhere we go. Yet the ego can use that too. See, it will use every line in A Course in Miracles, and he warns about that. Every line in A Course in Miracles can be used by the ego to deny divinity because that's how it plays. And so it'll be a play, yes, okay, Jesus is with me always. Yes, he is. But if in the play of consciousness you don't believe that or have that as a direct experience, then the ego will just hold you to the ground with that and make it okay not to step into a full divine expression. It'll say, well, I can just live in a cave and then I'll be fine. No, you can't do it. Because the you is still trying to do it. Unless we step out of the comfort zone. We just watched The Secret Life of Walter Mitty today. Another good movie that I didn't like very much. It's so fun to admit. There's another one I thought was really dumb. See, the ego always thinks things that are going to really threaten its little fiefdom is going to be dumb. And until you really, Jesus has to show us, how we got the cover little blinders on not to see. It's a beautiful, beautiful movie about how you come back to receive the gift of yourself. You think it's like a journey and you're going on a journey, but what you're doing is they're seeing that there's no journey to who you are. But the consciousness, Jesus knows we like those little adventures, little journey adventures. That there's an attraction to it. So he uses that same attraction in consciousness to stretch us outside the comfort zone of what we think our little safety, the little safety comfort zone. And that's how consciousness plays. It plays like that. It stays in its comfort zone. It doesn't want to face the ring in its nose. It satisfices. I'm satisfied. Meaning it's taking sacrifice to be real, that's acceptable. So today in the lesson, you just dropped all ideas. We can do that now. That's what we do at every light circle. Just lay gently aside every idea we've ever had, every little movie. That was hilarious too. That Walter Mitty is one of the best movies that really shows the mind wandering play, doesn't it? Isn't that hilarious? In the fantasizing, the desire to fantasize. Really feeling very small, and then delusions of grandeur. But both are a play to be less than and more than God in experience. So these assignments just bring you to a state of being. It's a recognition of being, that there's no doer. That's the other line. Jesus is going to make me do something I don't want to do. Oh, I saw that play. Oh, that was a strong play. Until you see. But so we trap ourselves in a box. See, the ego has this, we make the ego to have more power than we do, an infinite being of light, and we hand over the nose ring to the ego and just follow it around like a little puppy. And in pain and suffering and death and being decrepit. Jesus, is it ever necessary to become decrepit in this lifetime? Hear what he says. This is, he said in A Course in Miracles. Body has no power unless we give it that power. It will just melt away, just as it came. Where did it come from in the first place? Do we ever think about that? Where'd that body come from? No body is ever born. Ask Jesus, Jesus, am I born? So as we drop all the ideas and the concepts and the nose ring, so we're fighting Jesus. Jesus, I want to keep this nose ring in my nose because we believe hell is heaven. See, we think the nose ring and being yanked around all day and constantly twitching, a little explosion here, music there we don't like, someone says something we like, your ears, you can feel the tension in your ears. But it's a play to respond, to be like a little marionette puppet every time there's a sound or a voice that you don't like, or a single word arises, or a picture of a person you look at that you don't like. This stunningly magnificent display. Jesus says, no match for heaven. He says, but you can start there. You can start to kind of be curious. This is very interesting. And instead of having the belief that it would be impossible for us to manifest the world, ask him, Jesus, I'm manifesting in this world. I have the power to manifest this world. Yes. Yet it means nothing. But one thought, even if, let's just say it's a dream. Is it a dream, Jesus? And then think of the power that it takes to have such an elaborate display. Like you don't even have to, you turn your head like this, and by the time you turn back, a bird that was back over here, a whole flock of them is over there. And then meanwhile, there's a little, I love that. There's like a little ant. There's like a little trail of ants stripping the trees out. The little ants are marching 2 by 2, hurrah, and they're stripping, they're carrying, how they do that? They strip a plant and then they just carry a big old leaf and they're marching along. So the birds are flying, the ants are marching, the grass is growing. Ask Jesus, is that all out of thought? Whoa. And we want to argue with them about whether we're an infinite being. Does that display come out of thought? He never tells me no. So it's kind of fun. You're having a little conversation, you hold him something in your hand. Jesus, I'm manifesting this. Hear what he says, look at your water bottle. I'm making that. Okay. All righty. That I make thirst. And the water bottle. And then you just kind of look at it because he's having us look in things now, to see, okay, so and you look at that and you go, is that truly outside of me? And that's why he's having to look at things, because we're so insisting that they're outside of us. That's one big fat presupposition, assumption. I was thinking, okay, so on the spiritual journey, then, again, I've said this, I thought I just wanted to escape the world. I can just remember thinking that I just want to escape it. I want the whole thing just to go away. That's how the ego plays. It makes it through desire, and then it goes, I don't want it. So it's a tug of war. It's the two little dogs out on the lawn, and they each get an end to a little rope, and then they pull, and then one wins and it goes this way, and the other seems to win and it's just like constant back and forth. And then we go, oh, God, I'm so tired of that. Because we're playing tug of war with thought. So today he just says, drop everything. Every thought, every feeling, every emotion. And just notice. Uji calls it natural noticing. That is beautiful. Natural noticing. The shark is unnatural. This is unnatural. It's noticing what's wrong. Just notice what's here. The only thing we can agree to. Light. The only thing that can be shared. We're so used to sharing ideas and thoughts and trying to make something and have another. Think about the profundity of this, where we're sitting on a couch next to someone else, an idea, which everyone is an idea. That's pretty humbling in the first place. And when you see yourself as an idea, that's doubly humbling. Just an idea. This body's just an idea. Ask Jesus, is this body an idea? Like I said, I was looking and going, and I really could see I did not want to see at all that the body was no different from this phone. And if you feel a twitch when it's worth looking at. Like not wanting, and many times, like over the spiritual thing, looking down and recognizing, because we can all see it if you just kind of notice. That's what he's having us do. Curiosity, start noticing. Is that really outside of me, this phone? Really? Is that true? And here Jesus, no. And we have a number of experiences where we can just look down and you start to see, no, that's me. It can't be apart from me. Like, and then, that's what Muji says. He has he talks about, okay, see that you're light. And then he's got a whole, in the Invitation of Freedom Toolkit, he's got this series of videos about spirit, what to do and how to handle the ego. And one of them is called And Then, because you can see that you're light. If you really look, the more we spend time with them, that's why he says it's startling. It's startling to suddenly notice and looking down there and see, oh, that's not, there's not two, there's just one. That it's a concept that they're two. After those kind of little adventures in consciousness, there will be a big kerfuffle. Often, you can ask Jesus. Whenever a kerfuffle arises, you can just about count on either the ego is perceiving, it's seeing that there's a big breakthrough coming, to see that everything's within, or it was seen. And this is now a cover over. You can ask Jesus about that. So now I just kind of ask, what did you see that you don't want to see? And then you can ask them, Jesus, did I see something? I think I told that story about, okay, so I was up in Canada and there, okay, so it was another little mini mystical vision with Jesus. And he came and he showed me, he says, look, you can have this bundle of thoughts here, or you can have infinite. So he's showing me, well, okay, so here's the, this is how consciousness played. So I was happy to see that, and it was very comforting to see it. And then I shared it with someone. And then I felt like she snubbed me or said something that didn't happen like that. Well, that was a desire. Do you see a desire in consciousness? So then I was mad at her for 2 days or something. Because you see, we have these glimpses of the light, glimpses of true nature, and then kerfuffle. See, it's that little lens. See, it opens to see, oh, I'm the light. My God, I'm so happy. Oh, my God. Oh, it's everything I wanted. But guess who's getting involved in the I wanted? So after seeing that a few times, that's why even when I feel like this, totally happy, let's start going, okay, show me Jesus. So I kept the mind, kept focused on him. He says that is helpful. That was really helpful. So even when I feel, oh my God, this is, because the ego will start talking about this is fantastic. Oh my God. I mean, I'm just so happy, blissful. No, the ego's involved. But you don't know it because you're just so happy to be, you had a release from this heavy, big burden. Just keep looking. Stay with the looking. That's what he's saying. Stay with the looking. And you can just drop as quickly as possible. Another one, Jesus, because you just go until you're done. That's what he says. You just go until you're done. Until he doesn't surprise you anymore with what you but that's the ping. That's how the ping plays. So you really have to be trusting your mighty companions. Really trust in them when they're praying and you're listening, and come in and listen to Jesus together. So we have like a little sheet at the center. Here's all the ways you can tell that that the ego's, well, now we'll call it, you can tell that here's the signal that you're being pulled by the nose ring. Ceasing, not joining. That's first. Then it'll go, and then the ego starts making plans. It's going to make its little plans. Anything's of God, it's very open. There's an openness about it. You'll want to join actually because it's joyful. It's joyful to share. Oh, I just received my next step from Jesus. And then everyone's going to hear it. Your brothers will hear it. Those that are devoted to being really clear will hear it. And that's how we help each other through that listening. But it takes a lot of trust because the ego's so used to that nose ring and then it making its little plan. I remember Lisa saying to me, because my house, and it was, actually Jesus said on that one, it was so easy. He made it so easy when my house sold, and Lisa said, that's one we should have joined on. But I didn't understand that. I was like, why? Because, and it was given. It was given. I can hear it from Jesus now. It was very easy. But see, we don't even know when to join and when it's helpful, and we really need him to tell us everything. That's what I see. I do. I've say this every day here. Like the further on, the deeper looking, the more dependency on Jesus. But we're learning God dependency. That's how we learn God dependency. That's how we learn to see through the denial so that then just love is here. So yeah, these things will play. They don't change who we are. That's why it's helpful to have mighties they're just like drinking whenever those patterns start showing up. They're like a sponge going, oh, something for me to look at. See. They're not going, we're running or booting you out. No, they're going, if they're wise, they're just going, let me look really quick in a moment of light with Jesus to see if there are any little kerfuffles going on here. That is taking responsibility for the mind. Jesus, any desires in there? You'll notice. And I prayed with him a lot on this because I could see a lot of pinging. Like someone would speak something I've talked about before, and then, you just watch that ego. It goes searching to compare. Are they saying the right thing? Or is this right? Or it would try to correct. He says, don't ever correct your brother. He tells you that because the ego is correcting. That's correcting yourself. So you're editing yourself because there's no other. Now there will come a point where you're following him so directly that you can deliver out a direct message from him. But it's his message. It's not a personal message. And it's only when a being is receptive to it, asks for that kind of assistance. Like David, he unless somebody asks him, he said this before, and I understand that now. Unless someone asks, and not only that, they can ask, but if it's not given by Jesus, you just, because you see it's all for you. It's all for me. And so there's no thing that is worth not following Jesus on. It's just because he tells you all kinds of things, the ego can turn that into a parlor trick, really. That's why I ask them. You'll hear me ask them, do I tell this story? Do I talk about this? And sometimes you'll hear him. He'll tell you, no, that's for you. That's just for you it's not to be shared. Timing could be it's just what's most helpful. So you're no longer like chasing your tail around or pleasing. That'll break that people pleasing right up front. That's why we focus here on following Jesus, because that will, people pleasing won't survive that. Just being so true to Jesus, then once that's the only thing, then don't have to worry about it. Be even concerned. Because once you said no to the ego enough, and there's an understanding of what we're saying no to. We're saying no to hell, basically. Once that's seen with Jesus, that well, we're so used to saying no to ourselves. And that has to be reversed, to say no to the idea we have of ourselves. And you see the power that comes with that, saying no to the ego, no, no, no. And that's saying yes to divine light. That's saying yes to love. To break the habit of saying yes to hell. So he's really the one to help us break the habit of saying yes to hell. And it's not until like, and for here, until he really started showing all those desires. Then you go deeper and deeper with them on the desires, and you just really see that we can't go without him. Not quickly. I mean, we could dabble around for like a few more centuries if we want to, which we've been doing, playing the, let me take another ride around the block, Jesus. But for those who really are sincere in saying, no, this is really the only thing I'm interested in. Then we have to stand into the assignments that he gives. So you can ask him that, Jesus, do I need to stand into the assignments? And on his timing, it has to, see, it has to be his timing. If he says it's on a Wednesday, go on a Wednesday. It becomes a relief, actually. Like I've said before, for a while, it was like, you're so involved with every single step having to be written out. Now it's just like we can be spontaneous. Just ask him in that moment, okay, Jesus, I'm just about to make where do I go? Like I told you when I went to Denver that time. And the last thing the K character would have done was spend 10 hours in the airport. That would have been horrific. What do you mean it takes this long? But it was to uncouple from the idea of time. And also for him to arrange time and space, to demonstrate the power of divine being following and seeing. And there was a little bit of kerfuffle when I got off the plane. Okay, what do I do? What am I going to do for 10 hours? But didn't last long. Because as soon as I literally walked over to get my ticket for the next flight, and it didn't work because it was 10 hours, that a gate agent comes walking up to me. Now, it was packed in there. It was packed. The lines for all of the kiosks and the gate lines were really long. Now, how is it that I'm like standing in the middle? Like, I don't even know. How did that gate agent, I wasn't standing next to a kiosk. I was kind of near it, but and just a gate agent comes up and says, yeah, what you doing? It's like, well, I'm just trying to get my next ticket. And he walks me over. Hey, let me walk you over and let me try to get it for you. That's hilarious. And so I followed him over and he said, oh, it's going to be 10 hours. And I said, well, maybe I'll just go get something to eat. And he says, come with me. And he goes, now down here over there, you won't find any. He's given me a tour of the airport, like where all the places are torn up. Everything's torn up, but let me show you. And he takes me for a little walk and we go down the elevator. How does this happen? No, this happens by following Jesus. So you get a private tour. He takes me down the elevator and there's still a lot torn up, but he's going, now, if you go down over there, you'll see right here, look right here to your right. Here is a lounge, all leather seats, recliner leather seats. Sit there for 10. Then he goes, okay, so just go down here and there's a restaurant. I said, well, I think I'll just go down to thank you very much. It was really nice. And so I head down to the little restaurant and When I asked Jesus about this trip to Denver, am I to go and stay 10 hours? Jesus said 2 words: holy encounter. So, so I walk into the restaurant and I sit down and I order. Here comes the waitress, starts talking to me. What do we start talking about? Jesus. How much she loves Jesus. And her name, with the name badge right here, and there's a picture on my phone, her name is Christy. we're talking we're talking about Jesus and how much she loves Jesus. And I said, yeah, Jesus sent me to the airport for a holy encounter. I think that's you. Christy. It's like, all right, Jesus, that's how he gets us in with them. Then I went and sat on those nice, after I had a nice long lunch. Spend as much time as you want just sitting in this restaurant. You're welcome in here. And Muji would say that too. You will be welcomed in every country. And when you're in Holy Purpose, you'll see that too. Like the number of times, like I'll go up in Portugal and wasn't anybody in the check-in, and they started trying to teach me Portuguese. The customs guy was starting to give me Portuguese lessons. And the number of times, like, people will say, I think you should come back to this island and visit again. It's like, you're welcome. Do you see, when we're on that holy mission and we're following, it's like it becomes open arms for us. So I went and sat in the nice lounge and then flew back to Houston. And that's just a reminder for me. See that when you follow, you don't have to worry about the particulars. I could hardly get off that plane, and I could just feel the kerfuffle. There's a little kerfuffle. What do I do, Jesus? What do I like? And here comes the gate agent. So it's beautiful to see that we're carried by love, and that he is sending us in holy missions. But we have to get out of the armchair. If I hadn't said yes to the number, I can't tell you the number of times and the number of places where I would sit down, and I can just promise there would be someone who'd come sit next to me to talk Jesus. On planes and buses and trams and metros, and that there will be someone who sit next to you and you'll talk about Jesus in the middle of Hindu country, flying on the plane between. And even if you talk Hindu, you'll talk about God. Or in Jerusalem, talk about God. It's just, that's our function. Our function is to talk God, because we are God. It's the only thing worth talking about, really. So it just sounds like Jesus is really encouraging all of us to, again, step out of the armchair. Let him show which miracles are to be performed, and to go out and extend the light that we are, to shine that light anywhere where we're led to go. And in that way, we do get to see these time and space rearrangements that cannot be explainable to the ego. And we need those. He says, yes, you need those. You need to see those. And yes, and he's saying, you will not accept yourself as a divine being without seeing those. The power that you have that invests in you and the Father. I know they would call that, I remember listening to Deanna and Jason. They were talking about stepping off a cliff or something. Jumping off a cliff. We want to do that as much as possible. And I remember thinking, that just does not sound so good. Until you leap off of a couple of them with Jesus and you just watch the angels fly in. He says, this is your function, to see the angels that you're carried. Thank you, Jesus, for reminding me. That I have all these mighties, see, that are here, that we carry each other and lift each other up to heaven. Thank you, Jesus. Thank you, Jesuses, for dropping in to celebrate infinite. Love you all. Everything I spoke of is for you and for me. There's nothing that I have said that you do not have the power within you to accept. When you accept the assignments that he gives you, that's what he's saying to tell you. This, he's saying this is natural to you, actually, to be carried in this way so gently. Amen to that, Jesus. We're in.
Okay.